All right, there we go. What's up, guys? This is Coach O'Neill, Office Coordinator, Schlegel High School, located in Kansas City, Kansas. Today, first off, I want to wish you guys happy holidays. I know this is a time where everybody is relaxing and spending time with family. Obviously, as you can see, I have me a Smurf shirt on. Just shows how much relaxing I'm doing right now. But I just wanted to come on here and just give my insight on high school recruiting as far as high school coaches, us high school coaches, helping getting our kids to a collegiate program, or our high school students getting themselves into a collegiate program. And basically, the information that I have, my insight, and what I've learned from other coaches from talking, and networking and things like that. First off, obviously, we understand as coaches and students, student athletes understand that there are requirements as far as getting into a collegiate program. You can't just being a dominant athlete on the field does not mean that you have a legitimate shot at making it to college. So first off, the requirements as far as getting into a program. Obviously, we all coaches, we understand already this. We know this already. Some kids may not know these things. So first thing first, GPA. All right. So you have to have a GPA, man. These kids have to, grades are utmost importance. And I think sometimes these kids do not understand this until it's too late. All right. So, having a 2.5 or higher, I believe, is the requirements for collegiate. I could be wrong. It probably changed, but from my knowledge, I want to say a 2.5. But on the safe side, generally, a 2.5 or higher, that helps. All right. So that helps out. That puts the kid in a good situation as far as, having colleges look at them and come talk to them. All right. So secondly, and this is a big deal as well, your ACT score. All right. So you have to have the ACT score, man. A lot of these kids now, I'm not even gonna say a lot of these kids. One thing that we need to teach our kids is taking the ACT early in their high school career is very important and beneficial for them. I mean, obviously, if you get a high score at a younger age or in a younger class, as far as a sophomore, junior, or anything in that fashion, then that's less stress you have going into your senior year when you're preparing to talk to collegiate school or recruiters and stuff like that. If you're a student athlete who is trying to play on a collegiate level, all right. So when these guys come, you don't have to worry about pretty much the saying, well, coach, I'm taking the test in this such and such time. You can already have that score down pat if you have taken the test earlier and got accustomed to how the test is formulated so they can help you out in the near future as far as getting a high score. So the ACT score is very important, man. A lot of my guys here now, and at least what I'm learning in the Kansas City area, is, a lot of these kids kind of miss that hump, or I'm not even gonna say miss the hump. They just kind of get it at the last minute and they're kind of scrambling and rushing to get these things done. And a lot of them don't understand that, you can take the test early and get a high score early will help you in the long run, So this is a trend that we're trying to change here, especially at Schlegel High School, for our younger guys coming into the program. This is a major trend that we're trying to change, is getting these kids accustomed and getting them into ACT prep classes and prep program, earlier in their high school career. All right. So they can have this down pat. All right. So now once we have the GPA, the ACT, now we get to the football schematics of it all. So, film. All right. They want to know, obviously, then we can talk film play. All right. So now that we got the GPA down, he's a good kid. He qualifies for the school. We have the ACT score. Say he makes a 18, 19. Just throw it up there. So he's one of those kids who got an 18, 19 on his list for an ACT score. Now we can get to the film, man. This is what college coaches are going to be looking for. All right. These are the things they generally ask for, especially going through the process with my guys who I'm going through now. This is what I'm learning. That they generally go down this list first before they get into anything else as far as film and playing ability. So, like I said, they have the grades, they have the ACT score. Now we can talk film play. Now we have the kid that has the film. Obviously, we know this is the reason why the college is there, because they've seen the film already. They see the potential. The next thing is the character. The character of the kid. All right. You want a kid. These coaches don't want a kid that they don't want a kid that's a troublemaker. All right. They don't want a kid that brings issues to the program. You don't want a toxic kid. All right. All right. They want a kid that's gonna come and represent the program well and show that they're the reason why they got them there. With the reason why they're giving them opportunity because they're going to demonstrate the finer things of being a role model, being a student athlete, being a positive student athlete. This is something I tell my kids a lot. You got to be a positive student athlete because you never know who's watching you. There's always a kid behind you that wants to be you. I mean, I'm a student. I was a former student athlete, and I was the same way when I was younger, watching guys who were playing before me. I envisioned myself in their shoes. So when I got in that position, I already understood that there's kids behind me that envision themselves in my shoes. So it's an ongoing trend. So we have to represent well, and that's demonstrating proper character, being a positive student role model, positive person in the community. I'm not saying you have to be a saint, but at least representing the program and the university that you're attending at a higher ability. If you can do that in the high school, all right. If you have that character, if you have that type of personality in high school, that makes you a well-class kid that a lot of recruits will want. On top of that, man, if you're a team player, being a team player, man, being a positive role model to your teammates, always leading your teammates, being a leader, leading your teammates in the right direction towards basically being a good person, being a good athlete, being a good teammate. This is another thing a lot of college coaches would love and look for in a kid. All right. So these are the basic requirements, man. These are the things that generally college coaches are keen for. All right. If you have these 4 things down pat, man, you're in the right direction, especially if you have these 2 things. These 2 things right here, these top 2 are the major deal, man. You can't have without those grades, man. You're not going anywhere. That's just the business of it. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. You don't have the grades, you don't have the opportunity. So you have to do your part as a student and handle your business in the classroom. This is what we as coaches need to teach our kids. We shouldn't just always drill X's and O's, and then when recruiting comes around, we're almost somewhat illiterate to the fact of what we need to do in order to, driving our kids in the right direction. So by letting them know off rip, which we should be doing this as coaches. I mean, every coach should be doing this. And if you're not doing this as a coach, work on it. Seriously, work on it, because this is something that we should be preaching as a daily. Getting your grades, man. You're a student first before you're an athlete. That's always gonna be that way. That's not gonna change anytime soon. So you're a student first. Now, along with this, now that we understand that the 4 principles, I'll call it, the 4 principles that you should have as far as getting recruited, or the 4 requirements as far as being a collegiate recruit or being on a college recruiting board. Now we get down to the thing as far as what is needed to be done by the athlete, and what is needed to be done by not the head coach, excuse me, by the football coach for the high school. All right, so coaching wise, man, I'm gonna start with the coaches, and I'm saying this just because from talking to other collegiate recruits who came to my high school and talked to me about my student athletes and things that we were doing. The one thing that they always mention to me after they leave my school is, Coach, you're a coach that I like the fact that you're helping your kids, giving them the right information for as colleges. You're not just letting anybody come in here and sell them a wolf ticket on their program and, on their logo or anything like that to get them to the school. You're in there asking serious questions that these kids need to know. And generally, a lot of coaches do not do that. This is one thing that collegiate coaches tell me. A lot of coaches do not do these things, man. They go into these, they get a recruit in. I say generally they get a recruit. The recruit comes in, sit down with the coach, sit down with the football coach, sit down with the student athlete, and the football coach just sits there in silence and just let the kid and the coach just conversate. Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that's their way of helping your kids get recruited and it works for you that way, then hey, you got the golden egg. But if you really want to amplify that, you got to almost be somewhat of a hype man for your kids, man. One thing I do when I have recruits come in, man, I throw out the browning points right then and there, man. This kid is this such and such. I give them those 4 requirements before we even sit down with the student athlete. Before the student athlete comes out of the classroom, I break down those 4 requirements. I break down the type of kid they are. I am honest. You know, that's another thing as coaches. We have to be honest with these guys because by being honest with the guys, that can assure you they'll come back the next year when you have other seniors looking for opportunities. So I'm honest with these guys. I give them those 4 points. You know, I'm giving them honesty about the kid, what I know about the kid, ability wise, student wise, personality wise. You know, I'm giving them these things. So when the kid comes in, we can skip that whole introduction deal because he can say, well, your coach already, you know, expressed his your thoughts about you and everything I needed to know. So let's get down to business about, you know, our school. So then it gets to the depth where, you know, they start talking about the schools and, you know, what they bring to the table. As a coach, you know, you shouldn't let your kid just sit there and just soak all it in. You know, ask questions. What is your enrollment rate? What is your male to female ratio? Do you have a nutritionist for your program? How's your strength and conditioning program? How's your training staff? What are the things you do for your student athletes during season, during off season? How's the classroom size? Ask them things like this because this is all information that these kids need to know as far as picking a school. Because at the end of the day, these kids are picking a school. They're making a decision for the next 4 to 5 years. And if you're a coach that just sits there and just let them just get spilled with information about schools that probably some of the information they won't even remember or don't even care about, then you're already steering them in the wrong direction as far as picking a correct school to go to get their degree. All right. So you have to be able to, you know, ask these questions for these kids because these kids don't know what's going on, man. All they know is I have a college recruit in this room with me right now, and he's possibly talking about giving me an opportunity to play football on his college campus and get a degree on his college campus. So that's all the kid knows. They don't know all these things, or they don't really. I'm not going to say they don't know. They don't understand all these things to ask. So training program, you know, how is your training staff? What type of equipment you have there? Are you guys up to date? Are you modernized with your technology and your equipment that you use to make sure that my kid, if he comes to your program and somehow get injured, I can be assured that he has a program or a training staff that's going to get him back on the field and make sure that he's at the best that he can be. So you got to look for that because some schools you go to, training staff is not that up to par, and say a kid get injured, all of a sudden now his career is done because that training staff was just not good. All right. So you want to know about things, strength conditioning programs. All right. These are another things that you should ask for your kids. I do this most definitely because I want to know when my kid leaves my program, when he comes back to visit, is he going to look different? All right. Is he going to look the same like he left high school? Or is he going to look like he's been through an actual workout facility and they're doing the right things to push him to the next level? All right. Is his body going to be developed even more than what it was when he left? All right. That's the stuff that I need to know. Academic wise, what's the graduation rate? All right. What is the classroom size? What if I have a student who probably isn't a kid who needs to be in a large classroom setting? All right. So maybe a school with a smaller classroom setting is something that he's looking for. So asking classroom size is a major. All these things, man, are good questions to throw on the table for your student athletes, all right? Because at the end of the day, when they leave, when that recruit leave, then it's on to you to ask your student athlete, what do you think, man? And this is stuff I do. What do you think? What are you interested? Do you like the school? Did anything stand out that he said to you? Like all those questions, ask that kid after that because now you have him really understanding what's going on. Because, you know, when it comes to my guys, I let my guys know, hey, and this is a business, man, at the end of the day. So you will have coaches who will sell you a wolf ticket. All right. You'll have coaches who will generally come to the school, sell you this big bright star. Yeah, you're the next guy up. And then you get to that school and all of a sudden you're not promised the stuff that you so-called promised during your recruiting visit or all this stuff like that. So asking these questions and going through the depth chart. So another question you should ask, like, what is the depth chart ratio, or what is the class you have for your position group? So if you have a kid who's a DB who's getting recruited for a DB position, how many DBs you have coming back? All right, how many DBs you have at this specific position that he plays, how many seniors, how many juniors, how many sophomores, such and such. These are questions that you can help your kid be placed in a great position as far as going to the next level and being able to get a degree and also being able to play. Because one thing we have to know as student athletes and all of us coaches who were student athletes, when we get to the collegiate level, who had this opportunity, your motivation is playing ball. All right. And this is the fact. The kids' motivation is football, and generally for our sport that we're choosing to participate in or to coach. But football is our motivation. So by being able to compete at a high level, that motivates those student athletes to go harder in those classrooms just because they want to be on that field. All right. So if you put a kid in a position or in a program where he's not really being developed as a young man and as a football player, then that motivation for that game is going to die. And eventually that's going to hinder his academics. And you can see a slight ripple in that. So in order to prevent that, as high school coaches, it's our job to make sure that when we go through have these college recruits come in, man, we ask these questions. We put them in the hot seat. We put them in the hot seat and we ask them questions, see how much they know about their job, basically. This is an interview for them. All right. So we're like I tell my guys, man, I always tell my kids, this is college recruiting is a business now. College football is a business. Your job is your payment is your scholarship to get a degree. All right. Because obviously the game is not promised, but your degree is that's the final product. So you want to go somewhere where you can get a high chance of getting a degree, finishing school, getting a degree, but also perform at your craft, which is football. All right. So it's a business. So you got to put these college coaches in the hot seat, man. Ask them questions, ask them things, and see what they know, what information they can give you about their program, so they can better give your kids and you as a coach knowledge to better make a better decision on where to go to for the next 4 to 5 years for your student athlete. So that's just a spill on that, man. So you got to have those things. You got to be able to ask those questions to these coaches. Like I said, this helps with your kids getting recruiting. Now, the last thing I want to jump on, and this is something that I don't think a lot of athletes and coaches know about. And it's something that I call self-recruiting. All right. Self-recruiting. And this is something that I've learned. I learned it going to a few coaching clinics, talking to some collegiate coaches, getting knowledge from these guys. And self-recruiting nowadays is big. All right. Obviously with social media, on a heavy right now, self-recruiting is something major. Every coach almost nearly at least every coach at least should have a Twitter. All right. So using your social media, Twitter is a big deal. That's a big networking deal now for football players, for student athletes, excuse me. I'm not even gonna say football players, just for high school student athletes, period. This is a good networking deal because you're coming in contact with these coaches directly on social media, and they can follow your highlights, your information, what you're doing in school. All this stuff can be thrown on Twitter. It's like a ongoing resume, if you want to put it that way, for student athletes. But it also gives opportunity for coaches to communicate. All right. So self-recruiting is basically you as a kid or your student athlete. And this is how I teach my guys. All right. So with everybody, every coach, every collegiate program, they all have a website. So everybody has a website where you have email addresses for coaches, contact information, all that stuff and whatnot. Now, self-recruiting goes in the sense you contact those guys directly. All right. So this is what I tell my guys, and this is how I teach them to do it. So to start off, you pick the schools that you're really interested in. All right. Now, when I'm saying pick the schools, I'm not saying don't go out and send Nick Saban an email with your information and you're not a 5-star athlete. Let's just be real about it. Don't do nothing like that because that's wasting time. So send your information to actual schools that you have a potential to getting actual looked at. And this is on coaches as well to help these kids with this, because you can kind of steer them into the right direction of what schools to send their information to. Now, another thing that's going to do, and this is going to kill a lot of those kids who have kind of an ego and think they're Division I kids. Not every kid is a Division I kid. Not every kid is Division II kid. All right. So you have to, as a coach, you have to kind of put them in the right position and steer them, let them rise from there. So if they're not getting looks at D2s right now, by sending their stuff to JUCOs or NAIA schools or D3s. That's putting the name out there. So now when they perform, now those Division twos and D1s would come talking to them. That's the type of business they do. If they want you, they'll come to you. All right. They're not just gonna just have you give them a call and like an NAIA program. You give them a call and they'll look you up and see, because that's a different caliber of league. Power 5 schools can pick who they want. They're the cream of the crop of the litter. So they can pick exactly who they want and how they want to pick them. So that if they want you, they can go there. But anyway, self-recruiting, like I said, using your social media is important. All right, this is a good deal because it can help. It can help your kids as far as getting their information out. Like I said, email address. Every coach has an email. All right, every program has an email. Somebody, you have a contact some way. All right, there's a way to contact the program. If you're interested in that program, email the coaches. I generally tell my guys, all right, you should email the head coach. If you're a defensive guy, the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator, and then your position coach. This is how you should email it. This is self-recruiting, all right? This is the way you get these guys, at least get these colleges looking at your kids, man. I'm not saying they're going to contact them, but at least by sending this to them, they're going to at least take a glimpse, and who knows, they may contact you just by you taking this extra mile. So always email the head coach, the defensive coordinator, the coordinators, and your position coach, all right? When you do that, you send them your highlight film, your height and weight, your GPA, your ACT scores, your SAT scores, all that. You send all that information to these guys, all right? You do that to your favorite, your most interested, the schools that your kids are mostly interested in. This is what they should do. They should send it to them, all right? After that, all right? So after that's done, you stay in constant information, all right? Stay constant contact, excuse me. So this is how that plays out. If they get in contact with you, keep communication strong. Keep it strong. The reason why you have to keep it strong, these coaches have a recruiting board, all right? These guys have a recruiting board. And if you're not constantly buzzing in their ears showing that you're really interested in their program, they're going to probably have another kid who's interested or has the ability, just showing some interest that they really like, that they're going to steer to. So by you keeping yourself in their ear and keeping yourself relevant, these guys are going to be like, well, maybe, you know, he really wants to be a part of this program. He's going the extra mile. So let's look at this information and see what he got. Oh, he has the grades. He has the score. His film looks pretty damn good, man. We might have a gem out of nowhere. So you can get these guys just by keeping communication strong. Talk to these guys until, I do tell my guys, man, talk to these guys until they sure letting you know you're not getting an offer, all right? So talk to no offer. That's what I generally tell them, man. You talk to these coaches until you know you're not getting the offer, all right? So by doing that, that keeps the communication strong. It keeps everything going in line. And then if you're straight up front, and that's the last thing. That's the last thing I'm going to say on this. Honesty, man. Honesty is key, all right? This is the major bag alert for my guys out here who know what that major bag alert is, man. Honesty is key. The reason why honesty is key, if you're honest with these coaches will be honest with you, all right? Generally, like I said, we're all human. These coaches ain't no damn robots, man. So they can tell when a kid's lying. A kid can tell when a coach is lying. So by being flat out honest with them about everything, that keeps you on a straight and narrow, and that shows the type of character you have as a student athlete and as a young man or young woman, depending on what sport you're playing. All right. So this is the process of self-recruiting, man. This is what I teach my guys, man. This is how I teach my guys. Everywhere I've coached, I've always thrown out self-recruiting, you know, because the number one deal, like I said, I've been informed by a lot of college recruits when they come in that not a lot of coaches do the things I do for as the recruiting process, man. They're not asking questions for the kids, or they're not asking questions to help the kids out, and they're just letting they just let the recruit come in. And these are what the recruits are telling me, all right? So I'm not making this up, but they just let them come in, give their spiel on the school, what their expectations are, and after that, get up and leave. That's all they get out of the equation, all right? The kids don't really know any in-depth questions. Or when the coach asks the kid questions, I mean, the kid already shell-shocked because he don't know what's going on, man. He don't know what's the right question or what's the wrong question to ask. So sometimes that kid's just going to sit there quiet and hope that you help him. So as a coach, high school coach, football coach, man, or coach of any sport, you need to have those questions ready, man. You need to make sure you ask these questions, because what it's gonna do is ensure that you're putting your kids in the right direction or giving your kids information to put them in the right direction towards choosing the school to be at or to go to, excuse me, for the next 4 to 5 years, man. All right, so it is important for us as coaches to do these things. Self-recruiting, like I said, this is big. This is something kids can start self-recruiting. Hell, at 9th grade, man. I mean, these kids start, social media is so big, and technology is so big now. Kids can come in contact with the head coach on Twitter right then and there. All right, so self-recruiting is a big deal to start off the process and get your kids noticed. All right, so this is basically a tool to get your kids noticed. All right, you want them to get noticed by somebody. All right, you want them to get noticed by somebody. So this is the way to do it. As always, folks, man. This is just my spiel on the deal of recruiting and how I go about recruiting, how I help my kids go through recruiting, and maybe how you can take some things from me and probably use this in your process of getting your kids opportunity to reel in recruits and get more opportunities towards competing and receiving a degree on the next level. Like I said, man, if you ever have any questions or anything to add on to what I've said, you can contact me on Twitter at CoachO223. I'm always on there talking football, man. I'm a football guy, so anything related to football, I'm always about it. Trying to just pretty much give that information out to guys who probably don't have the information for themselves. So this is just my way of doing this. This is not the golden way, but this is the way that I've done it, and this has been very successful for me. All the places I've coached and helped guys get recruited and get looked at, this is the process I've taken. So hopefully it helps you guys. Again, you can always hit me on Twitter, man, Coach O223, talk ball. If you have any ideas you want to throw on to my videos, man, you can join in anytime, man. So like I said, I hope everybody having a great holiday, having a great break, just relax with the family, resetting. Getting ready to bring in this new year, and just getting ready for my football coaches, getting ready for the upcoming season with off season. For my other coaches who are doing basketball and wrestling and things like that, man, preparing your kids for that final stretch for chasing a championship. Good luck to you guys, man, and like I said, man, happy holidays.